In Helldivers 2, choosing the right equipment and stratagems for your next mission can be like traversing a minefield. The more options you unlock, the harder it becomes to choose a really well thought out and coherent build, because you're always battling with two thoughts. Do I stick with these stratagems that I use all the time because I know that they're really good and I know how to use them? Or do I switch it up and try something new, hoping to find the next best thing, while also risking that I'm gonna be an absolutely useless teammate for the next 40 minutes? Fear not, for I have done extensive testing of every single stratagem and other piece of equipment in the game. And in this video, let me talk you through the 4 most powerful builds that I have found to ensure you are the best diver in every single situation. From bug and bot specific builds, to defense missions, and even the best all-rounder solo build. So in no particular order, we'll kick off the video with my favourite all-rounder build for solo play, firstly looking at bugs. As we move into this first build, please do note that the purpose of this video isn't to try to force you to only use these things religiously and never try anything else. From my testing, the equipment I'll be advising in this video is the most effective if you want to die less and win more. But I really am a real advocate for playing how you want to play and just having fun. So sometimes, if you just want to see big explosions and put the fear of God in your teammates, then of course feel free to just run mortar sentries and 380mm barrages. However, with that said, the equipment I recommend you take if you're trying to solo tougher missions is the Eagle Airstrike, the Guard Dog Rover, the Railgun, and the Orbital Laser, and it'll look a little something like this. Firstly and most obviously, you've got the Guard Dog Rover to help you deal with swarms of enemies. This thing racks up so many more kills than you would think, as I have told you all time and time again before. Your Eagle Airstrikes ideally you want to save to help you take out nests. A well-positioned Eagle Airstrike can easily take out 3 nests in one shot. It's also really great defensively when protecting objectives such as extraction or whilst you're waiting for the ICBM missile to arm, things like that. Next up, of course, the Railgun is going to be amazing at 2-shotting charges. You will use your Railgun to strip the armor off one of their legs, and then 4 to 6 shots from your breaker shotgun in that leg will instantly take them down. Primarily, saving your Railgun for charges means just one 20-round mag will take out 10 charges. And then your Orbital Laser is going to ideally be saved for if you see a Bile Titan. However, if you're fairly confident there isn't one for quite some time, you've still got a couple of charges left and it's near the end of the mission, feel free to use it to help you defensively or throw it into a heavy nest. Using these 4 pieces of equipment means you have got all bases covered. Swarms, big enemies, little enemies, offensive and defensive. They are going to cover all angles. As for your booster, I strongly recommend you take the stamina enhancement because you are going to need to do a lot of running as you are the only person on the ground. Sometimes it will be running to objectives, sometimes it will be gathering points of interest, and sometimes it will be running away from swarms of enemies whilst you wait for your Eagle Airstrike to cool down. But the increased stamina and stamina regen is going to be absolutely key for solo play. Now, as we're still talking about the all-rounder solo build, the only slight adjustment I would make for the bots is to potentially switch out the Guard Dog Rover for the shield generator. Swarms of bots aren't quite the same as swarms of bugs. As opposed to the bugs, very few bots try to get up in your face, and what you are more focused on is making sure you don't die from the constant barrages of bullets. Therefore, switching out the Guard Dog Rover to the shield generator if you're soloing high-level bot missions, I found to be really effective. As you can see here, I've been running these missions on hard mode, and not only that, both of the missions I have been on have the debuff which doubles the call-in time of all of my stratagems. So the footage you're seeing here really is a trial by fire. This is worst case scenario. So when you try out these builds on your own, you'll be having an even easier time than you're seeing me having here. Because I'm really having to be careful where I call in my airstrikes because they take something like 8 seconds to cool down, when in reality it's only like 3. And still, despite the fact that I have one of the more challenging modifiers applied on me, these missions have been an absolute breeze because this build is just so powerful. Just like with the bugs, the Eagle Airstrike is incredible against bots, perhaps even more so. because as long as you are either 44 meters away from a factory without the increased throwing range, or 66 meters with, and you get that perfect 45-degree arc, your airstrike will take care of every single factory for you without you needing to go near that base where things could potentially start to get quite messy. Before I move on to the next build, there is one more bot-specific tip I wanted to share with you, just in case anyone still doesn't know this yet. The railgun is perhaps even more powerful against bots than it is against bugs. As you know, one of the toughest bots in the game is the 3 different variations of the Hulk. These things can decimate even a full squad if left unchecked. However, if you are remotely good at aiming and you can aim for that big red dot right in the center of their face, the railgun will one-shot them. And despite the fact that I had a really weird bug here, and in this facility there were no less than 10 Hulks, there was potentially even more, honestly, by the time I'd cleared it out. 7 of them had all clustered together here. I was just hitting one shot after one shot after one shot with my railgun. I completely melted this entire facility like it was nothing. Do not underestimate the power of the railgun against Hulks and Devastators. If you can hit that red dot, they will one-shot all of them. Even heavy Devastators with the giant ballistic shield on front. If you aim just above it at that red dot peeking out, that is still going to one-shot even a heavy Devastator. So now your only problems are going to be things like cannon towers, mortars, and tanks. That is exactly where your orbital laser comes in. Just like you are saving it for your Bile Titans against bugs, save it for these really, really big, scary threats. Throw your orbital laser in, go hide behind a rock, and it will completely melt everything for you without you having to lift a finger. And because you have potentially switched out the Guard Dog Rover for the shield generator, your breaker shotgun will make light work of every other bot you encounter. Raiders, Marauders, Assault Raiders, none of them are going to stand a chance against your breaker with your shield generator blocking their bullets. You can easily take out waves and waves of them without breaking a sweat. So now, armed with this build, with the slight variation potentially for bots depending on your personal preference, you should be able to solo almost all missions with ease. So next up, let's take a look at my best recommendations for a team build when facing off against super high level bugs. We're talking Suicide, Impossible, and even Helldive difficulty. Let me start this section by saying that my absolute biggest tips when playing as part of a team and completing them really, really difficult missions isn't your build, it's not your stratagems, it's not your gear, it's coordination and cooperation. Hopefully many veterans here will agree with me that a Helldive mission with a team who knows how to coordinate and cooperate and is on comms is going to be far easier than a Suicide mission with no collaboration. No matter what build you use, you are going to struggle unless you communicate and coordinate. I totally appreciate some people don't want to talk or may not have the setup to be able to, but even just pings, etc. in-game are going to be better than not doing that at all. And for people who do want to team up and squad up more than they ordinarily would be able to, please feel free to join my Discord server, link down below. There is now 3,000 of us in here, with upwards of 10 teams on the go at all times. There is always people wanting to jump into all mission types, all levels, and all varieties of gameplay. Now that you know my biggest tip around how to approach the mission, let's talk about the actual build. Again, you want the Eagle Airstrike. In fact, I don't think there is a single build in the game where you don't want either the Eagle Airstrike, perhaps the Napalm, or at least the Rocket Pods. The Rocket Pods are a bit different and a bit more situational. I like the Airstrike over the Cluster Strike because of the fact it can blow up buildings and nests. This is the main way that you can breach really tough garrisons without needing to run in and potentially waste half of your reinforcements. Whereas the Cluster Strike won't allow you to do that because it can't blow things up. It will only kill smaller enemies, it won't completely neutralize any threats. So, Eagle Airstrike, Guard Dog Rover, they are going to be absolutely key. And you'll see what I mean by that when I show you my kill count versus the rest of my team in just a couple of minutes. And for your last 2 stratagems, I have 4 for you to choose from, depending on what the rest of your team have chosen, because ideally you want to fill the gaps depending on how much AoE and single target damage everyone else is bringing. So your support weapon, choose between the grenade launcher or the railgun, depending on what everyone else has got. And for your final stratagem, I would advise either the rail cannon strike or the orbital laser. However, if no one else has brought any of the following, I always feel like there should be at least one sentry for defending positions depending on your main objective and also during extract. So try and make sure there's at least one Gatling or autocannon in there and also one 500 kg bomb. However, make sure that's wielded by someone who knows how to use it. It has a very small explosion radius. It's great for taking down Bile Titans, but it needs to be able to hit them. So I always leave the 500 kg bomb to someone else and I take the laser instead, but make sure at least someone has it because it is crazy powerful. So as I say, for your team build for bugs, the main four you want is the Eagle Airstrike, Guard Dog Rover, Orbital Rail Cannon Strike, and Grenade Launcher. When it comes to boosters, we're assuming you're running with a fully maxed out team. Pretty much everyone is going to have all the boosters. The four I recommend are increased stamina regen always. Reinforcing with full equipment is called the Hell Pod optimization something or other. That one, always. Reduced injury is another absolutely key one. And then the fourth one you can be a little bit more flexible with, but I really like the muscle enhancement so that terrain slows you down less when running through thick grass, etc. As for your equipment, use whatever armor you want, honestly. Use whatever traits fit your playstyle best, and until they fix the armor ratings, just run with light armor. Always run with the breaker shotgun. There is literally no reason to use anything else. It is so insanely powerful. And that's it. You are completely sorted for every single bug mission on any difficulty. Oh, and like I said, just before I move on, look at this kill count. This is absolutely insane. This build is so ridiculously powerful. And now, before we move on to our final build, which is the team build for facing off against really hard bot difficulties, let me quickly review the best defense mission build. This works for both solo and teams, and there literally is no reason to use anything else. This is just so broken. Use this 100% of the time. This will be a super quick section because I'm sure you all already know exactly what you should be running for defense missions. You want the mortar and the EMS mortar, and your strategic placement of your mortars is what's going to make all the difference in these missions. Make sure they stay alive and they will make sure you stay alive, especially if there's multiple of you. Just raining mortar strikes down on all your enemies. They won't go any near you and it will be GG in no time at all. However, if a few of the enemies do somehow manage to get close to you, the other two I strongly suggest you run are the railgun and the orbital laser, so that you can focus down big targets, allowing your mortars to keep dealing their splash damage to all the little targets, clearing up swathes of enemies for you before they get anywhere near you. And finally, let's take a look at the absolute best loadouts for when fighting them really tough, high difficulty bot missions as a team. Firstly, and most importantly, the 8 stratagems I recommend you use, and most of these are all very fluid, so use whatever's going to be best to fit the rest of your team. As always, of course, most obvious and perhaps most importantly, you've got the railgun and the rail cannon strike, the Eagle Airstrike and the orbital laser. They're your 4 big offensive options. Try and pick 2 of them and then fill the other 2 slots with the other stratagems that I recommend. Next up, for your backpack item, the shield generator is going to be absolutely key against bots. Or if you would prefer to bring something like the Guard Dog Rover or maybe even the supply pack, then to make sure you're still getting the shield generator relay you can bring along so you can put that down for the whole team. This isn't as powerful as 4 personal individual shield generators, but it can still hold off quite a lot of attacks, and it's a decent option if you really want to bring it. Another fantastic, very slept on option is the orbital EMS strike. Very much like the EMS mortar that I advise you use in defense missions, this is going to not only immobilize all bots in the area, but it will completely stun them, giving them 0 options to retaliate, shoot, or even move. And finally, I do strongly recommend at least one member of the team brings one kind of sentry to really buff your defensive capabilities in any situation where you need to defend a single point. and I personally think the autocannon is the best of the lot, especially when you've got the upgrades that increase not only the ammo but also the rotation speed. It eliminates any and all weaknesses the autocannon had, and it just melts through every single thing that the bots can throw at you. Now that you know my top 4 builds to help you crush every situation in Helldivers 2, please let me know in the comments your favorite and top builds, whether it be weapons, stratagems, boosters, whatever it is, because I'm always interested to learn if people have found even more powerful combinations that I have yet to fully try out. And with that, my friends, all that's left for me to say is, if you have been enjoying my content, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.